All right, so get this. Today we're going back in time, kind of like a time capsule thing, back to December 5th, 2023.
Oh, wow.
The day Bitcoin first broke $100,000.
Yeah, I remember.
Big milestone, right?
Huge.
Big day for crypto.
For sure.
But here's the thing. The source material we're diving into today isn't like a polished news report. We're actually listening in on a raw, completely unfiltered conversation between a couple of, crypto folks
Okay.
recorded on that very day, December 5th, 2023.
Wow.
So almost like we're eavesdropping on history in the making, right?
Very cool. Very cool.
An actual primary source.
Yeah. Unvarnished.
Yeah. No editing, nothing.
Authentic reactions.
Exactly.
Love it.
And this conversation, let me tell you, it's a gold mine.
Ah.
They cover everything, price predictions, market whispers, even some legal drama.
Juicy.
Oh, it's juicy.
All right, so let's jump right in.
Yeah.
What were their first thoughts when Bitcoin hit 100,000?
Oh, pure euphoria. You can practically hear the champagne popping in the background.
Literally.
Literally.
Okay.
But then they get into what actually fueled this surge, right?
Right, because it doesn't just happen in a vacuum, a price jump like that.
Exactly. And they're talking about some of the positive economic signals at the time, like a strong job market, everyone's working.
Yeah.
And then also the anticipation around what the Fed was going to do with interest rates.
Right. That always has an impact.
Yeah. So economic stability, I guess, kind of makes people a little more comfortable with, risky assets like crypto.
Sure. It makes sense.
So do they make any predictions?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Oh, absolutely.
What do they think? What's Bitcoin going to do?
They're throwing some pretty big numbers out there.
Like?
One of them, I think it was, throws out $250,000 by 2028.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if that's going to happen.
I mean, who knows? But it's an exciting thought, right?
Whoa, yeah.
And some of the things they were talking about, like institutional adoption, big companies getting into Bitcoin. Right.
And Bitcoin maybe acting as a hedge against inflation, those could definitely push the price up like that.
Oh, yeah. But
of course, there are always those regulatory hurdles.
Right. Always.
Governments, they always want to get involved.
Yeah.
So it's really a bet on the future. Like, will Bitcoin actually become mainstream or not?
Yeah. It really makes you think about, how far it's already come.
Oh, for sure.
Speaking of which, they actually tell this really interesting story
Oh.
about one of the guys in the conversation introducing his cousin to Bitcoin back when it was only like $300.
Wow, so early days.
Super early. And guess what?
Right.
That cousin's getting married now.
Oh, that's great.
And the price is over $100,000.
That's amazing.
Talk about a return on investment, right?
Seriously, what a story.
Yeah.
Just shows you the potential, though.
Oh, yeah.
To really make massive gains over time.
Hold on to those early investments. That's the key.
For sure. And that brings us to another hot topic they were discussing, Ripple and their stablecoin. They wanted to launch one.
Oh, yeah, Ripple. I remember all the buzz around that.
RLUSD is called. Yeah.
Right, and everyone was watching to see if New York's Department of Financial Services would give it the green light.
Yeah, like would they approve it or not?
A stable coin backed by Ripple, that could have been huge.
Huge.
Imagine a digital currency tied to the US dollar, accepted everywhere.
Yeah.
Smoother transactions, faster, cheaper, the whole 9 yards.
It could have been a game changer.
Absolutely.
But plot twist.
Uh-oh.
The launch got delayed.
Really?
Yeah. Right as things were getting good, they hit a snag. And in the audio, you can just hear the reactions like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, you can sense that anxiety, right?
Oh, yeah.
Even in this private conversation, it reflects that bigger worry in the crypto community about regulation or the lack of it. Like, are they going to stifle innovation or let it flourish?
Big questions. So it leaves us hanging, right?
Totally.
Will this delay kill Ripple's plans? Can RLUSD still be that game changer everyone was hoping for?
It's a cliffhanger for sure.
For sure.
Now, they also talk about politics a bit.
Oh, yeah, the political landscape.
I mentioned President Trump being reelected, right?
Yeah, and his stance on those BRICS nations.
Ah, yes. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. The gang's all here.
The whole crew.
Trying to move away from the U.S. dollar.
That's right, and Trump. Well, let's just say he was not a fan.
I bet.
They talk about him threatening 100% tariffs.
Whoa.
On any country messing with the dollar's dominance.
That's a bold move.
Oh, he was serious.
Wow, it really shows that tension, doesn't it? Between the old world of finance and this new crypto world.
Yeah.
The U.S. dollar, it's been on top for so long. Any threat to that is going to be met with, well, some resistance.
For sure. But it's fascinating, though, right?
Oh, definitely.
If these BRICS nations are really serious about ditching the dollar, they're going to need other options. And what's more decentralized and global than Bitcoin?
Good point. It could be a huge opportunity for Bitcoin to gain even more traction.
Yeah.
Maybe even replace the dollar in some transactions.
That's right, a real power shift.
Imagine that.
And it's not just theoretical either.
No.
They get into this whole debate about who'd actually pay for those tariffs.
Oh, right. The economic fallout?
Yeah, would be businesses or consumers?
That's the million-dollar question.
It's a good reminder that all this geopolitical maneuvering, it affects real people, you know?
Of course, in the end, it almost always trickles down to the average person somehow.
Yeah.
Either through higher prices or fewer jobs. It's never as simple as it seems.
Never.
All right, so what else do they dive into?
Well, next up is some legal drama.
Ooh, I love a good legal drama.
This one involves Roger Ver.
Roger Ver, the Bitcoin guy.
Yep, a big name in the Bitcoin world. And he was facing some charges related to his Bitcoin holdings when he renounced his U.S. citizenship.
Interesting. I vaguely remember hearing about that.
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
So what were the charges about?
Well, it all revolves around this concept of unrealized capital gains tax.
Ah, unrealized gains. That's a tricky one.
Right. It's basically the tax you would owe if you sold an investment today and made a profit, even if you haven't actually sold it yet.
So they're saying he owes taxes on profits he hasn't even made yet.
Basically, yeah.
That's a tough one, even in traditional finance.
Right, it's controversial.
But with crypto, it gets even more complicated because the market is so volatile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's hard to pinpoint the exact value of your holdings at any given time.
Right.
And they talk about this in the audio, like the nuances of these charges and how it could affect other crypto holders.
Makes you wonder, could this set a precedent for how governments tax crypto in the future?
Yeah, it's a big question mark.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Definitely.
But what's remarkable is that even with his own legal troubles, Roger Ver is still out there supporting other crypto folks.
Oh, yeah. He's a true believer.
He even financially backed some Bitcoin developers, I heard.
Yeah, they mentioned that in the conversation.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, and they even talk about him wearing a free Ross shirt during an interview.
Free Ross,
Yeah.
as in Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road guy.
The one and only.
It's a statement.
Oh, yeah. It really humanizes this whole fight for crypto freedom, you know?
Absolutely. It shows the community aspect, that they're in this together.
Totally. And speaking of legal bombshells, right before this conversation was recorded, Alex Mashinsky, the former CEO of Celsius, pled guilty to some pretty serious stuff.
Oh, wow. Celsius, that was a big one.
Yeah, misleading customers, manipulating the Celsius token, all for his own profit.
Classic greed, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the thing is, they dig up this old clip of Mashinsky from a few years back, where
Oh,
he's criticizing millionaires who profit from Bitcoin.
the irony.
Right?
And guess what?
He was a millionaire himself.
Ding, ding.
Sometimes it's hard to believe, right?
Oh, yeah.
The hypocrisy.
But it's a good reminder to be careful out there. Absolutely. Do your research. Don't just jump into anything blindly.
Especially with all these charismatic figures in the crypto world. You know?
They can be very convincing.
Very convincing, yeah. And then they bring up Tether,
Ah, Tether, the big question mark.
the elephant in the room.
Exactly.
For anyone who's not familiar, Tether, or USDT, is the biggest stablecoin out there.
Right, supposed to be pegged to the US dollar 1-to-1.
Yeah, but there have always been these doubts about whether they actually have the reserves to back it up.
That's the scary part.
Yeah, and this is where the conversation gets really interesting, almost chilling.
How so?
They're basically echoing the fears of a lot of people in the crypto world. If Tether collapses, it's going to be a huge disaster.
Bigger than Terra Luna. Bigger than FTX.
Way bigger, they say.
Wow.
They're calling it a ticking time bomb.
Lack of transparency, that's always a red flag.
It could send shockwaves through the entire market, they say.
It's a reminder that despite all the potential, crypto's still a risky game.
Totally. And we need to be aware of those risks.
For sure, but they don't end the conversation on a doom and gloom note.
No, they're actually quite optimistic about the overall state of the crypto market at this point in time.
Oh, yeah.
They're talking about the global crypto market cap being consistently above $200 billion.
Not bad.
Stablecoin volume is growing.
Mm-hmm.
Decentralized exchanges are becoming more popular.
Sounds like a market that's about to explode.
They think so too. You can hear the excitement in their voices.
It's contagious, isn't it?
It is, but, we always have to remember,
Right.
crypto is volatile.
Oh, yeah, super volatile.
Things can change quickly.
Always.
So don't get swept up in the hype and forget to be cautious.
Wise words.
Now, before we get to their discussion about AI, which is a whole other can of worms,
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
we'll save that for next time.
All right, looking forward to it.
Me too. This conversation is just full of surprises.
I can tell.
All right, so stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into this amazing time capsule from the day Bitcoin hit $100,000.
Can't wait. Yeah, it really felt like things were heating up back then, even with all the uncertainty.
Oh, for sure. But, this next part of their conversation really highlights the need for, like, a critical eye, especially with all the new tech coming out.
Right, like you'd think AI would be completely objective,
Yeah.
but that's not always the case, is it?
Not at all. They start talking about these AI tools for creating and analyzing content.
Mm-hmm.
And they quickly realize these tools have some serious biases,
Oh, yeah, that's a huge issue.
especially as we start relying on AI more and more for information.
Absolutely. Got to be careful what you feed the algorithm.
Right. And they actually noticed a tendency for these tools to kind of lean towards a certain perspective,
Ah, interesting.
even avoiding negative mentions of certain companies.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about the data, but also about who's controlling the algorithms.
Exactly. I mean, it makes you think, like, do we need to be even more skeptical of AI-generated content than traditional media?
It's a good question. It's almost like we're going backwards in a way. Back to a time when you couldn't trust everything you read.
Exactly.
So what did they propose? How do we fix this?
Well, they're big proponents of open source code and transparency in AI development.
Makes sense. Let's see what's under the hood, right?
Yeah. And they even suggest that maybe focusing on open source code could be even more impactful than just focusing on blockchain technology.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
It is kind of a challenge to the conventional thinking in tech.
For sure. Always good to shake things up.
Absolutely. Now, remember that Bitcoin MENA event in Abu Dhabi we mentioned earlier?
Yeah, the big one.
Well, they actually start talking about the speaker lineup.
Oh, this is where it gets juicy, right?
Oh, it's like getting a backstage pass.
Love it.
They're super excited about some of the Bitcoin OGs who are speaking.
Like who?
They mentioned Stefan Law and Bruce Fenton.
Oh, yeah, those guys have been around since the beginning.
Imagine the stories they could tell, right?
Seriously, that's living history.
But then there's some names that raise eyebrows, like Eric Trump and Michael Saylor.
Interesting.
They're like, what are these guys doing at a hardcore Bitcoin event?
Right. It kind of raises the question, like, what role should mainstream figures play in the Bitcoin world?
Exactly. Is it a sign of wider adoption or a potential threat?
That's always a tension.
And then, just to add fuel to the fire, they expressed some disappointment that Adam Back wasn't invited to speak.
Adam Back, the guy who hosts those Bitcoin meetups every Monday.
A one and only.
Wow, that's a surprising omission.
Right. It's like having a Super Bowl without the star quarterback.
Seriously, they're like institutions in the Bitcoin world.
It really shows how important it is to recognize those who have built and nurtured the Bitcoin ecosystem,
Absolutely. They're the foundation.
They did mention one speaker they were really keen on, though.
Oh, who's that?
Haris Irfan. He brings a unique perspective on Bitcoin from an Islamic point of view.
That's fascinating. Really highlights the global reach of this movement.
Oh, yeah. Bitcoin is for everyone.
And they touch upon the growing influence of, nation states in shaping the Bitcoin landscape.
Specifically, they talk about El Salvador.
Ah, yes. The Bitcoin country.
The first country to make Bitcoin legal tender, remember.
Bold move.
Very bold. And it's interesting to see how other countries are kind of taking cues from them.
Mm-hmm. Trying to figure out their own approach.
Right. And it's not just governments and big institutions. They also talk about Bitcoin's importance for families.
Oh, that's an interesting angle.
Like using it for inheritance planning and stuff.
Wow, so Bitcoin's becoming more than just a digital currency.
Right. It's like this multifaceted tool for financial empowerment.
I like that. It's evolving.
And it sounds like they're pretty pumped for the next Bitcoin MENA event.
I bet, hoping for even more action.
Oh, yeah, they can't wait.
Their enthusiasm is contagious.
It is. But before we get too carried away with Bitcoin, they actually mention another crypto event.
Oh, which one?
Ethereum Riyadh. It took place in Saudi Arabia.
Interesting. I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, and one of them actually hosted and moderated a panel there.
Wow, getting involved.
Yeah, and he talks about how important education is.
Mm-hmm. Knowledge is power, right.
Right, and also government collaboration, especially in the Middle East.
Makes sense. Lots of opportunity there.
And in true crypto spirit, he even commends the organizers for making the Ethereum Riyadh event open source.
Love that. Sharing the knowledge.
Empowering the community.
Exactly. It's inspiring to see these global movements taking off,
It's a reminder that crypto is bigger than any one country or region.
It's a global phenomenon.
Exactly. And speaking of global figures, they circle back to Roger Ver's legal situation.
Ah, right. That's still ongoing.
Yeah, and they really highlight the human side of it all.
Because it's easy to get caught up in the tech and the money.
Oh, yeah, but real people's lives are being affected.
Exactly. And they talk about how Ver was supporting other Bitcoin developers even when he was struggling financially.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
It shows his commitment to the cause, you know?
Totally. And it also highlights that clash between, like, the decentralized nature of crypto.
Where borders don't really matter.
Right. And the governments who are trying to control it.
It's a battle for sure.
And Ver's case is a perfect example of how the law is struggling to keep up with crypto.
Absolutely. It's uncharted territory.
And it raises some big questions about individual rights, financial freedom.
The role of government in this new digital age.
Exactly.
It's not just about abstract concepts. It's about real people trying to navigate this new world.
And facing real consequences.
We need more clarity, more fairness in how these laws are applied to crypto.
Otherwise, we risked stifling innovation.
Exactly. We can't hold back progress.
And as we wrap up this part of the conversation, it's important to remember that this all took place on the day Bitcoin hit $100,000.
A historic moment.
A huge victory for the early believers.
The ones who saw the potential when no one else did.
Exactly. And it makes you think, how would you celebrate reaching such a milestone?
What would $100,000 Bitcoin mean to you?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think about.
Yeah.
It's funny, because at the end of this conversation, they're celebrating Bitcoin hitting $100,000 with pizza and wine.
Oh, that's classic.
I know, right?
Kind of a throwback to the early days, right?
Yeah. Remember that story about the guy buying 2 pizzas with 10,000 Bitcoin back in 2010?
Oh, yeah. If only he'd held on to those.
Right. Talk about a missed opportunity.
Seriously.
But it does kind of show how far Bitcoin has come.
From like a fringe thing to a global phenomenon.
It's incredible, really.
It is. It's a testament to those early adopters, the ones who believed in it when everyone else was laughing.
Absolutely. They had the vision.
They took the risk.
And now they're reaping the rewards.
Makes you think, how would you celebrate a moment like that?
Yeah, what would $100,000 Bitcoin mean to you?
Would it change your life?
Would it be like validation of your belief in this technology?
Or just a stepping stone on a much bigger journey?
A good question. It's not just about the money, is it?
No, it's about like aligning your values with your investments.
Being part of something bigger.
Exactly.
A movement that's challenging the system.
And as we've seen in this conversation, it's a journey with, ups and downs.
For sure.
You got to be smart, got to do your research.
Always.
And never forget that there are real people involved, real lives being impacted.
Yeah, the human element is important.
It's what makes this whole thing so fascinating, so compelling.
Absolutely. So as you continue your own crypto journey, remember what we've talked about today.
The importance of due diligence, the power of community.
Transparency, always. Always transparent.
And the fact that this revolution is being driven by people.
Real people with passions and dreams.
Exactly.
So stay curious, stay engaged, and most importantly, keep learning.
Because the crypto world never stops moving.
That's for sure.
The future is being written right now.
It is, and who knows what it holds.
The possibilities are endless.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of crypto.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on everything we've discussed today, so head over to our social media channels and let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely. Let us know what you think.
Until next time, happy investing.
Stay informed.